Hello, and thanks again for joining us for another Fathom Live, a live stream show dedicated to giving you tips and insights from experts in and around the real estate industry. I'm your host, Jeff Sturtz. Glad to be with you today. Are you feeling like an HGTV star, or maybe that you want to be? Well, you're going to want to listen close today with our guest, Will Johnson, because he's going to be talking about HUD renovation loans that you can introduce to your clients for them to be able to take a home that needs some reno before they move into it and make that happen. So really exciting stuff today. Listen closely. Very, very excited about what Will's going to say. It's another one of those kind of untapped resources that we've talked about on other shows that might really be a great solution for your client. So excited about that. Before that, we always have a weekly contest in which, or almost always, where we have people that comment, that shout out on our different social media feeds, whether that's YouTube or Facebook. So if you comment or share on either of those, then, or at least on Facebook, the share part, then you get entered into this drawing. So real quick here. I just lost it. Here we go. These are our winners. Now, this one doesn't have a lot from last week. We had a ton the week before. So let's just see who ends up being our lucky winner. And it is, drum roll, please, Krista Patterson Absher. Krista Absher. Wow, out there in North Carolina. Congratulations, Krista. So way to go. Way to be involved and engaged on the show. We also do our weekly. Oh, by the way, if you do comment, share, and all that kind of stuff, the prize is a yard sign package, a photo listing package, on-target transaction, or $200 worth of Go Social Leads services. So one of those four prizes you get to choose, and then we set that up for you. So before we go further, we have our Houseopedia tip of the week, and that is this. If you don't have the knowledge or skills to tackle a DIY project, there's free help available at big box home improvement retailers such as Home Depot and Lowe's Home Improvement. Head to their websites and check for free classes on everything from simple plumbing projects to installing tile. The classes are typically taught by experienced craftsmen and provide a wealth of information. And of course, this is the internet, so there's a lot of places for that, but those are great resources. thisoldhouse.com. You could go to YouTube, a lot of stuff. So you can tackle those DIY projects yourself. Might find that you really enjoy it as well. Our sponsor today is Go Social Agent. Go Social helps you grow your social media marketing influence, offering effective and affordable social media marketing, including setting up your account, making your page look really nice. They do automated postings, agent-branded articles, buyer and seller handbooks, Facebook ad campaigns, and more. And as a Fathom agent, if you happen to be watching, you're a Fathom agent, you get a lot of this stuff either for free or in bundles, in which it's a lot better deal than if you're not a Fathom agent, but still, if you're not, great service, check it out, and they can help you grow your business. If you haven't already subscribed to YouTube, our channel, do that. Hit the notification bell as well, and then you'll always know when we're going live. And then if you missed last week's shows, we had the Peterson Property Group on with us, and they talked about how you can engage in your community, and it's a great thing to do to begin with, but then it also works hand in hand with your business and helps generate leads that way. Also, we're always looking for live show guests. We want to bring people to you that offer valuable content, so if you do happen to either be somebody that you think could be a good guest, or you know somebody, let us know. We'd love to give that person on the show. All right, that's enough of that kind of stuff. Will Johnson is with us today, all the way out in San Diego, California. Will, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So besides Will being a 203K loan inspector, which you might not even know what that is if you're watching, he also has he's had an amazing life from the very beginning, from the very moment of birth as well. If you head over to Will's Facebook page, he's standing under a street corner, or standing under a street sign, right, on a street corner.
Yep,
so what is that all about?
So when I came into this world, now bear in mind, I'm only maybe 5-minute drive between the house and the hospital. Long story short, I didn't make it. So I was born in the car, and on my birth certificate, it shows a street corner in San Francisco, 9th and Moraga. And so, that's how I came into this world, under this cloud of controversy. I blame my mom. My mom blames my dad. My dad blames me. So it's something we always have fun with every time we're together for Thanksgiving.
Okay, so they didn't list the hospital. You were actually listed on the
No,
street corner. So
street corner. Street
that's,
corner.
I mean, there's
True
probably a
fact.
few people around the world that could claim that as well. So, but you're a rarity in that way. So let's just jump right into things. We have government numbers and codes and things that we hear, whether it's 501c3 or 401k or those kind of things. But you're a 203k HUD loan inspector. Is that the proper title?
Yeah, so actually, so I'm certified by HUD, and my designation is a 203K HUD consultant.
Okay, so what is
And
that?
yeah, so what that is there's a category of these home loans that are available, government backed from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, even VA. So these renovation loans are available. So quite simply, you can add a construction budget to a home purchase or refinance opportunity. So it's a great opportunity. I'm required as part of that process. I go out and I do like an initial compliance inspection. I review the bid, and another important feature is once the financing closes, that construction budget sits in an escrow account, and I manage the release of the funds. It's called fund control. So I'm involved from the very beginning of the process all the way to construction completion.
Okay, so the renovation loans that buyers can take advantage of to do a reno on a home, but the finances are backed, they're government backed through the
Yes.
HUD program, and your job is to make sure that the money is used properly by the different parties involved.
Yeah, so I'm sort of this field guy. I'm out there. I know constructions, I know inspections. My core business is home inspection, so I'm doing home inspections every day. So I'm out there looking for compliance conditions, health and safety issues, smoke detectors, GFI. Do we have a good roof? Do we have a good furnace? Do these all have life? If not, then it shows up in my compliance report, and we need to include those compliance conditions as part of the loan. So the buyer has a wish list to do their types of improvements. We add this to the whole scope of the work. We include it. Again, I review the bid, and then it goes to the lender for approval, appraisal, funding, to the point where we can start construction.
Okay, gotcha. And we're going to get into kind of the nitty gritty of what kind of loans are available, as well as what the process is once
Sure.
you decide to go this route. By the way, do you know Ted Ivanoff? He's
I do.
Ted's watching. He's hailing from San Diego, as well as Linda, Yvette, Monique, Randy, Tara, Zach, Josh, Vanette, Ashley, Jenny. So thanks guys for watching, and everybody else that's watching. But yeah, Ted's in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I feel the love. That's awesome.
So, very good. So when we talked before, prior to the show, you mentioned that there are three different renovation loans, or really three different types of loans that are offered in this program. So the first one that we discussed was the makeover or limited, I think you call it a limited reno loan.
Yes.
Okay, what is that? What does that look like?
So there's actually two types of renovation loans
Okay.
available from HUD. And the first one's called the limited. It gives you a budget of $35,000. And it's really suited for a home that really just needs sort of finished improvements. So flooring and painting and windows and maybe appliance replacements. You're working with a budget of $35,000, and I've sort of put together a whole marketing program that I call Makeover. So I came up with the designation of Makeover, and again, it's really ideally suited for realtors that are sort of in markets where inventory is very scarce, or you're just running into inventory where the neighborhood's right, but it really just lacks that luster, that curb appeal. And this is just sort of a great opportunity to present to a prospective buyer.
Gotcha. And does it have to be interior kind of stuff, or can it be either, as long as it's just more cosmetic kind of things?
Yeah, that's one of the real benefits of these renovation loans. It's all of the above. So
It's very
any
flexible.
type of fixed, oh, extremely, any type of fixture. And I mean, we can go much, much more extensive. I mean, we can buy a home that's completely distressed, not habitable, and we can rehab it. I mean, that's how far we can go. We can even add income property, and that's really an exciting opportunity in the marketplace, particularly in California.
Okay, and again, we'll walk through a little bit of the process here, but what is this loan something that is part of my mortgage, or is it a separate thing, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's one loan, and so when we go through the purchase process, we do the compliance inspection. It'll be really key to bring a contractor on board, particularly on a purchase, as soon as possible, because we need that construction bid. So that bid will be reviewed, evaluated by me, by the lender, and then once we close escrow, it all rolls into one loan. So the buyer needs to qualify for the purchase price plus the cost of the construction. So
Okay.
that all sort of turns into the total loan amount. And then once we close escrow, that construction budget sits in an escrow account. And then I work with the disbursement department in terms of organizing release of the funds to the contractor as it's being built.
All right, so there's a specific amount that HUD would back, but then it all becomes one loan.
Yeah, so it's one mortgage payment to the buyer. Some people will sort of even have a strategy will they go into the loan, and then over time they look at sort of getting out of the loan to refinancing because of better rates and getting rid of things like mortgage insurance.
Right, right. So when it comes to actually doing the work, you said you want to get a contractor right away. From kind of beginning to end, what does the process look like?
So if we concentrate like maybe on the makeover, sort
Right.
of the key things is to really try to get as much of this process organized before you even open up escrow. So your buyer should really get a contractor on board. I mean, I would drag my contractor out to a site that we look like we're going to make an offer on and really start taking measurements, start gathering information. You really want to get that bid sort of in place to make the offer. And that sort of resolves a couple of things is now we sort of know what the construction budget's going to look like plus the purchase price. So it's obviously from a lender's perspective that the buyer is going to qualify for that. But once we have that construction budget, we go into escrow. Again, like I do the compliance inspection, we modify the construction bid, and I review that, I approve it. So the lender's waiting for my documentation that sort of I'm giving my stamp of approval. If permits are being required, I'm making sure that that's being identified. So the lender's really looking at me to identify and evaluate the whole integrity of the package. Is this good to go from a contractor's perspective that's just looking at this very independently and objectively? Then it goes to the lender. One of the other key advantages with these lenders, that I want your users to recognize is one of the advantages is this loan is based off of the future value. So when we hand this documentation to the lender, they order the appraiser. The appraiser is going to base value on all of the improvements
No
that are
kidding. Okay, because
included.
it's funny. We once in a while give out a fake award. It's called the Segway Award, and Andy won it this week because he just asked, "How about the appraisal? Is that based on after updates?" And so you just, yeah,
Bravo.
good job,
All right.
Andy.
All right. Good job. High five.
So
Yeah.
you just say this is what it's going to look like when it's done, and the actual physical improvements. So what's your evaluation?
Yeah. So again, that's sort of something to think about is sometimes we can actually create equity in this process. If we're buying a distressed property, we're going to be able to buy it at somewhat of a discount. If we have a reasonable construction bid, we run the appraisal. The appraiser is going to sort of imagine what this is going to look like, trying to find reasonable comps of recently sold properties. And, there's times where the appraisal comes in higher than the overall loan amount that was approved for. there's equity. There's equity on
Right.
paper. So it's really, really exciting to sort of see or realize that that can actually occur.
So you're just like you said, it's equity on paper. So you can like just write down, sort of waving a wand, saying this is what the house is going to be worth, appraise it at that value. I mean, in a sense.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I always talk to my prospective buyers is, we all have access to internet tools. We can go on Zillow, we can look at recently sold properties, and we can see what they sold for. So we have an idea where the appraisal should come in at.
Right.
And what I always say is, if the buyer qualifies for the full loan amount and we feel confident about where the appraisal will come in based on what we see on the internet, then the rest of this is just sort of a process. And then it's just a matter of just working through the steps to complete the escrow.
Okay, so just kind of backing up to kind of get to where we are now. I have a buyer, and they're looking at a house, and maybe we say, well, there are other options here. There's these houses that might not look good, but we can do a reno loan. So then you get a contractor involved to say, yes, I will work with, setting you a bid within these parameters. We'll get the 203K loan guy involved, and we can come up with what we would purchase this home for based on what we think the renovations are gonna be. And then at that point, what happens next?
So, at that point, the offer's made, escrow's opened up. We go through the process as we had talked about. One of the advantages, specifically to the makeover, that I think is really, really important and a real strategic advantage, because I think you and I talked about some of the other characteristics that's going on in the marketplace, and I talked about maybe a shortage of inventory out there.
Right.
But I'm also very wary what's going on with the whole iBuyer marketplace out there. I mean, we have this sort of looming potential competition coming
Right.
into the marketplace. This is sort of a counter potential strategy to this. But here's the big advantage that we can provide is we go out, we spec out all the improvements, we close escrow, and now we literally tell the homeowner, the new homeowner, is to go shopping to pick out those finished improvements. I think that's incredibly exciting and unique. You're now having the homeowner going out, selecting all of those finished improvements. There's no other strategy that can actually compete with that, right? This is what, some of the downsides when we see some of these flipped properties out there. These are all nice and new and shiny, but, they don't really sort of appeal to everybody's taste out there. So I think it's really advantageous, the fact that we're now empowering buyers to go out there and select the finished improvements that they're going to enjoy for years to come. And I just think that's something that's very, very refreshing. We're going to find buyers that are going to be really attracted to the fact that they're going to finish out all of the improvements. Do you watch HGTV? I mean, we know this isn't a wild concept, right? This has been proven over and over and over again. We have real estate flippers that's how they make their money.
Right. So how do I ensure at that point that who controls how the funds are delivered to the contractor? I mean, we all know too that contractors will give bids, they get the money, and then they either don't do the job that they were told to, or that they promise, I should say, or they just hightail it. So how does that work in this process?
Well, that's really such a powerful point because, unfortunately, we hear of those horror stories out there, and these aren't trivial, discretions that happen with the construction industry. One of the real advantages to this construction loan, and as soon as I'm involved, I want to talk to the contractor, because what I'm going to tell the contractor is, look, we don't release any monies until work is completed. And then I go out, I verify that the demolition's been done. We're 50% through framing or foundation. We'll prorate, we'll release that portion of those funds to the contractor. So that whole scenario of the contractor taking off basically just doesn't happen because fund control is managing that. Lender requires it. It protects the protects the buyers. Once they hear that, they start to realize, wow, we have some real quality control built into this
Right.
process. If they do take off or we have to fire them, then we still have that balance of the budget.
Right.
My role is not to release any more money than they're really entitled to on that project. So we can bring in another contract. We still have those funds to complete the project. Real important
Yeah,
advantage.
I was gonna say that's really great because then the pressure isn't on me to negotiate when the contractor gets his next check. That's on you. I mean, that's on your side of the business because, like you said, you're protecting the buyer and the lender at the same time to make sure that the job gets done and the value is actually put into the home.
Yeah, and I just want the realtors to feel, secure about the decision that they're making out there, that they just sort of know this is, a very vetted program. This program's been out since the 60s, so it's been around for a long, long time. It has a lot of built-in features for change orders. So, I mean, this is a real mature process out there. But I want the realtor to feel assured that, they're in safe hands because it's a very protected process. They certainly want to show up. They want to come to the housewarming party to see all of the finished improvements, and they're just gorgeous. It's one of the things I love most about what I do is just you just see like, wow, these people are building their dream home or something they're going to enjoy for the next decade.
Very cool. I've got two questions here that are very similar between Greg Perkins and Monique Westbrooks, and we'll get to them in just a second. It's down on our list, so you also get sort of segue rewards. But so one of the questions though is as far as and maybe I have it here too, is the timeline. What about somebody that the contractor comes in and it's like the guy doesn't show up except for every like other month, and he's not getting the job done. How does that work, and how does that work as I'm waiting for it? Do I have to live in the home during these renovations? And of course there's uninhabitable situations. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so there's a couple of timelines and sensitivity associated with this. So let's talk about that. If the home's not habitable, then we can certainly have to identify that through the loan process, and then we can actually defer payments.
Wow.
So the mortgage payments don't start until the project or the property becomes habitable. We can do up to 6 months.
Wow.
So we have a 6 month window that we can work with. That's pretty much, the expectation is the maximum is to finish the project within a 6 month window. So talking about another sort of timeline is they want a draw inspection done every 30 days. So there is pressure. We are asking the contractor to identify how soon are we going to be able to complete this project. Is it 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? I mean, I have projects that have gone over a year because they're extensive projects. That's just
Right.
sort of the reality of it. But in terms of timeline, look at this from the contractor's perspective. Is they have to work with their own funds, their own monies in the marketplace. So they have a stake in the game. So
Right.
they're going to put this project at a higher priority because they have their money tied up into it. So when they have six others, they have their money tied up to it. They're showing up on your job versus all of the other projects where they don't have money tied up. So that has sort of a self improving way of getting contractors to pay attention to your project because they got their money tied up into it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You also mentioned, well, I guess I'll go ahead and go here with these questions from Monique. She said, do all banks provide this 2OK loan? And Greg also says, how do you find a local 203K guy in your area? I'm assuming they would recommend mortgage professionals that would service this loan. So where would agents go to find that?
Yeah, so building the teamwork is really critical. If a realtor really sees like this is something I really want to do, you got to build your team. And let's start with a lender. Let's find a lender that is a renovation loan specialist. Do they have access to these loans from HUD and Fannie Mae? And these are nationwide programs. So it's a matter of just finding a lender in your area that really has interests or even specialized in these loans. So that's number one. Number two, the 203K consultant. So HUD has a website, obviously, that, there's a whole list. You can go onto the HUD website, just do a search for a 203K HUD consultant. There'll be sort of a search box that can come up. You punch in your zip code or your local zip code or city, and you'll have a whole list of 203K consultants in your area that can service you.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
I wanna kind of jump off of what you just said there about building a team. That's been a theme on this show with a lot of different people. But I kind of see this working out in kind of a greater business way as well for you as an agent, because if you're bringing in a contractor, and he's probably going to have to be a pretty quality contractor to be able to stay on timeline for this, you can now tap into that guy's network to say, do you know other people that maybe you've done some work for that they're getting ready to sell, or people that want to buy, and now you've kind of you've kind of extended your reach into more leads as well. I don't know if that happens in this case, but it seems not too unreasonable.
Yeah, one of the other similar loans out there, they're called construction loans. So there's a lot of contractors. That's the first thing I ask them. Have you ever worked with a construction loan before?
Right.
And they usually say yes. And so there are sort of a network of contractors out there. Interestingly enough, where I see most of my referrals come in are from past customers, because they are very proud of the work that they've done. They want to show off that remodeled kitchen, that renovation. They have that housewarming party.
Right.
You get leads from that.
Right. The realtor shows up to the house.
You better be there.
Yeah.
You better
right.
be there. You
right.
better take credit for it. I mean, you should. I have a website, ST203K. You should see my before and after pictures. I'm so proud of them. I'm so happy with the final results. I mean, such amazing transformation. We've taken a very sort of standard looking type of kitchen and just done a complete renovation, and it's just.
I mean, and then you could target. Sorry, my marketing. This is where I live in marketing. My marketing brain's kicking in here. You have that housewarming party. You put out a Facebook ad to a little radius around that home, and you say, "Hey, come see." If the homeowners are cool with that, come see, meet your new neighbors. They get to meet their neighbors. You bring everybody in. You've got the realtor there, the contractor there as well, handing out their business cards, and boom, 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 you got more leads. So. Yep. I've just solved all of your problems if you're watching right now. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He solved all of your problems. But no, pretty cool opportunities with that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, who wouldn't want to go see a recently made over home? I mean, it's just cool to see stuff like that. So what about, just shifting gears here, you talked about a damaged home, or I think you called like a standard loan. Well, first of all, backing up, what's the difference between a HUD loan and just a conventional renovation loan?
Well, a conventional loan really doesn't allow you to add a construction budget to it. Now, Fannie Mae is sort of referred to as a conventional loan, so some of those terms get a little confusing out there. But Fannie Mae has a product called Home Style that pretty much mirrors exactly the HUD 203K program. And as I mentioned, there are loans available from VA that include, a renovation construction budget with it. Freddie Mac has one. Somebody talked to me yesterday about a loan coming in from USDA, which I've never heard of before, but so they exist out there.
I'll mention, too, we had Sean Varon on from Parkmont Lending a few weeks back, and someone mentioned that Parkmont does all these renovation loans, and they're kind of big in the DFW area. So if you are looking for somebody, I know Sean will be able to hook you up, and he's a great resource here locally, as well as there's other offices in North Carolina and other places. So you can check them out as well.
I'm on a Facebook group for 203K consultants, and if you need to reach and you're having problems, you can also ping me. I can sort of throw it out there in my Facebook group to see if I can hook you up with a 203K consultant in your area.
Very good. So what about damaged homes? You talked about, we've been mainly talking about the makeover, what you call a makeover. What about homes, the roof is half missing from either somebody walked away in a foreclosure or mid-construction or something like that? or there's just damaged. What do you do in those situations? Does that give us more options?
Yeah, so I mean, when you get really confident with this platform, I mean, candidly, the worst condition the home in is the better opportunity.
Hmm.
Because right, you're not having any competitions. You might have cash investors coming in, but cash investors come in and they just throw in dirt ball low prices that will literally offend everybody involved with it. And then you can come in, you're a family, you want to buy that, you want to live there. I mean, this becomes sort of a nice packageable sale. You're buying it still a distressed property well below market. And as I pointed out earlier, we're going to add a construction budget. We're going to make it whole. We're going to make it look like a recently sold property in that neighborhood, and that value is going to be there. So that's a huge opportunity to create equity and really take this diamond in the rough. And really, again, you're picking out all of the finished improvements to it. So I mean, I obviously, because I work in this space, I have buyers that that's how they want. That's the hunt that they're doing. They're trying to find the most distressed property out there. You literally can't get a loan on a distressed property if it's not habitable. You won't get a loan. So this is like your only solution to it, aside from the cash buyers. And again, the cash buyers are coming in embarrassing low, where they upset everybody involved in the process. So you can come in with a higher bid offer. So this is sort of important for realtors to sort of realize there's a real strategy and a benefit here to create these opportunities. And you should see my before and after pictures. I mean, I can't imagine a realtor taking somebody to a property that just looks gutted. Right. It takes vision to realize what we can do with this. But that's exactly how to play this.
Yeah, we had shopped. We had already done a reno for our first house, and we were shopping for a second reno when we moved from Wisconsin to Maryland. And so we were looking at something that we could kind of sort of live in and do some remodels and improve the equity. And if Nick Medallion is watching, Nick took us around when we were there, and he brought us into one home, and he said, "You are not buying this home." It smelled of mold. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. And for us, he was right. That would have been the worst decision ever for us at that point. But what you're saying is there's an opportunity, even in crazy cases, to where I can live in my house for 6 months before buying that property, and it all gets done to where it's now habitable, and not even make that first mortgage payment until it's done.
I mean, I've had people park in the driveway in their mobile home, and they're living in their mobile home while the renovation's going on out there. So people will figure it out.
That's a great way to save money. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he lost weight, too. I mean, I hadn't seen him in like 3 months. He lost 15, 20 pounds. I could barely recognize him.
Yeah.
So it's another benefit.
That's what happens when you don't have a big fridge in a kitchen. So, there's also the opportunity to build what you call an income generating or an accessory dwelling unit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So it's a granny flat or a guest house, as some people refer to it. Safe to say throughout the country, we have, an affordable housing shortage in the marketplace. Very intense in California. So California really looked at creating or really laxing the ordinances for these accessory dwelling units. Again, we refer to them as granny flats. I think most people understand what we're talking about. So the exciting thing is we can actually finance those. So now you can go buy a property, maybe with a big yard, and looking at adding a granny flat anywhere from several hundred square feet up to 1,200. You can build a unit up to 1,200 square feet, and we can finance these with these renovation loans. So here's a real exciting opportunity. I think this is sort of something that doesn't come across very much in our lifetime, but I can just tell you candidly, in my market, my build costs, my construction costs are much lower than market rates. This is something real estate investors know, right? They're going out, they're buying things on the cheap, They can manage their construction costs. The market value, I mean, I have contractors that are telling me they can build at 200, 250 a square foot for these units. When I go and look on Trulia or Zillow and say, okay, what are we paying for real estate in San Diego County? Well, it's north of $400.
Right.
So if I can build it two, the market's giving me four.
You just doubled your equity.
Are you listening to me? I mean, real estate investors really are, paying attention to this and realize these types of opportunities are going to exist. And they changed the ordinances back in 2017 just to make them a lot more lax and reliable. There were still some hurdles. 2020, January 1, just last month, they really improved the ordinances. They removed some of the what they call impact fees, permit costs. I mean, people are going to be saving tens of thousands of dollars just in permit costs with these new ordinances. And I'm just excited because we can finance those, so we can enable them. The big driver for those is people are trying to take care of family. So that's what these granny flats were there for originally, was to put your parents in there. But because we're having such a housing shortage, that's been the number one driver. When somebody's coming to me saying we're trying to take care of a family member, I know they're serious. I know they're dead serious. I take them a lot more serious than I would like an investor. But I mean, those two drivers alone is going to be a huge opportunity in the marketplace. And realtors are beginning to figure it out. We're doing events on ADUs. Realtors are showing up in large numbers because they realize this really impacts, their inventory and their opportunity in the marketplace.
So I want to ask a couple of follow-up questions. Do I have to have somebody that's going to inhabit that property, or that out, if it's an outbuilding and or not, that accessory dwelling unit, granny flat, mother-in-law suite, whatever? Do I have to have somebody like that in my family to justify it, or I can just say I want to add on to the house?
No, yeah, you could just rent it out and create some income, some positive income.
Can I switch my mind? I mean, the intention is that you would rent it out. What happens if I decide after the project's done that I don't want to?
Well, that really doesn't have any impact on the loan. So, I mean, you're building that into it. So, in terms of how you utilize that, really doesn't have any bearing on the loan itself. So, I mean, I have people, when I start talking to them, they start talking about short-term needs versus long-term. I'm a baby boomer. I mean, I'd love to sort of add an ADU maybe to rent out, but by the time we retire, maybe I want to move into it.
Right.
And so maybe I want, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, I'm in San Diego. I want indoor, outdoor living. So I want to be able to open up those double doors and have a patio that I can hang out, having coffee, sitting out there with my laptop computers. We can get away with that here. And
I was gonna say, you've really thought this through. I mean, as far as your sort of retirement fantasy. So that.
Well, look at the baby boomer numbers. I mean, people want to age in place. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other marketing strategy too. I mean, what's happening sadly here in San Diego is, I think that, this is a different subject, but, I think a lot of us are scared to death of retirement because we're living longer. We're worried about, do we have enough assets? And people, what they're doing here in San Diego is they're selling the property, they're taking that equity, they're relocating to a place that's more affordable. So this strategy could actually allow them to stay in San Diego and create that income stream. So I think this is another, opportunity with real estate.
Two things that I have in my head. One is I did talk to an agent recently who is taking sort of a wing of his real estate business and specifically marketing himself as the baby boomer expert because he's recognizing that there are a whole bunch of people that are going to be moving in their generation or doing something different when it comes to their living space. So really, really interesting opportunity there. Also, this is for homeowners, right? I mean, people that are looking to buy and live in the home. I can't, as an investor, come in and get a HUD 203K loan.
You actually can. You're not going to use the HUD 203K product. You're going to use home style, which does allow for investors to work with. So you can come in as an investor.
Is that a government-backed
Yeah,
loan?
it's a Fannie Mae loan. It's a Fannie
Gotcha.
Mae loan called home style. They'll allow an investor to participate, and we can create an income property for that.
And does that have to be? My understanding is part of the government's interest in all of this is to take areas and properties that are not doing too great and try to inject a bunch of money into it to improve the overall living conditions. But what if it's a rundown home in a great neighborhood? Is that still qualifying for this loan?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a loan limit. Here in San Diego, we cap out at around 700 and some change,
Wow.
700,000.
Wow.
So I can't market this in neighborhoods that are actually way above that. I have
Right.
to market it in areas where we're well below that threshold that can support the purchase plus the construction loan stay under that $700,000 threshold. But it's wide open in terms of geography, as long as the numbers work.
I just had a comment here from Thomas Sparacio. I probably messed up your name. He said, if you have a home that is difficult to sell due to the need for upgrades, you can bring in Will to do a HUD feasibility study and list the price it would take to upgrade the home and get buyers to purchase that difficult listing. Better than bringing in a contractor.
Boom. Boom. Give them an award.
We don't have award for like
Come on.
the greatest comment of the day, but you get it.
So
We need to
you
have
know,
like a little award things that we flash up on the screen.
so that's another part of the makeover strategy is this can work on a listing too. So I get a lot of laughs when I ask people when I'm doing training, if you ever taken a listing that lacks luster, and everybody starts laughing because that's the reality of sometimes taking a listing, it's not going to show well. And
Right.
so there's always sort of that tense discussion of, what can you do about it? Do you want best offer, best price on it? And this sort of gives another strategy is instead of like asking to really do any improvements, let's just market this listing and really just saying, hey, I'm open to a renovation loan. So now your buyers are looking at this on the MLS and they're seeing, wow, here's somebody that's willing to accept a renovation loan. And now these buyers can come in and do the improvements that they want. I just think it's a perfect fit. And, we didn't get into the whole iBuyer discussion, but that's a really good counter strategy to the iBuyers. If you look what the iBuyers are doing is they're going after less stress, ease of sale, and this is just a good counter strategy to help offset that in the
Gotcha.
marketplace.
Now, we've had Charles Lauersdorf, who's with Realty Pro Shots. Charles, I hope you're watching. But he has taken home, he's a photographer for real estate, and he's taken homes that are either in the middle of a construction project or definitely need some improvements. And he has his team whip up, here's potentially what it could look
Rendering.
like.
Yeah.
So would that kind of coincide with what you're talking about here?
Sure. I've had people ask me to do that. That's just sort of way beyond my skill set, but it's a great idea. I've actually teamed up with this national chain. It's called ProSource, and they are sort of the Costco for home improvements. So what I tell people is, says, hey, go to the showroom floor. You're going to go dizzy with all of the finished improvements that you can select out for it. I've actually hooked up with an interior designer saying she'll actually go on site with you for an hour and then meet you at the showroom floor, and she'll escrow her fees. So, yeah, we're being sort of creative, big picture. Not everybody has that kind of vision. I think I do, but I'm dangerous, so I sort of know better, right? I just sort of feel like I want to bring as many solutions to the table so this really
Right.
seems more seamless in the overall process.
So as the seller, I'm trying to kind of recapitulate this. So as the seller, or I'm representing a seller who has a home it lacks luster, I could potentially have a virtual design of what the house is going to look like. I could get somebody like you involved, even maybe potentially a contractor, and then when you have a buyer say, hey, here's an option for you, or if you want, go pick your own contractor, but here's the potential of what this home could be.
Absolutely. Yeah, my only caution is I have to be careful about recommending contractors, and that's sort of my advice
Right.
to realtors is, you don't want to be the guy bringing into the contractor. If they can't perform, it's going to be sort of on you to fix it.
Right.
You
Right.
don't want that drama.
Right.
It's happened. Trust me, I don't get paid enough when that stuff goes down. So I put a big disclaimer and I caution realtors. I said, make sure the buyer's taking full responsibility selecting the contractor.
Very good. One other comment here from Greg Perkins. He said, "What kind of residency requirements are required before converting 203Ks to SFR rentals?" And to be honest, this reveals my ignorance. I don't know what SFR rentals are.
So single family residence. So
Okay. Oh
I'm
yeah.
not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure I understand the question. So there is an owner occupancy requirement, generally speaking. So the buyer needs to be, living at the property. There is an exception with the investors, like
Right.
we just talked about. I mean, creating income properties is nothing new to these renovation loans. We can actually add up to 3 additional dwellings to a property, and we've done them. We've done them here in San Diego. And maybe what he's getting at, one of the other sort of leverage plays is you can now use that rent that you're generating out of those dwelling units to qualify for your loan amount. So
No
that's
kidding.
an interesting.
So,
Oh yeah, so
oh
that's an
wow.
interesting
So
opportunity.
your
Well, you're really leveraging, that
like your
income.
debt to income changes with what the potential rental is going to be, or what the
Right, you're using that.
projected rental.
Yeah, you're using that rental income to qualify for the full loan amount.
And then maybe
Go
what
ahead.
he's asking too, and I don't know if he wants to clarify or not, but how soon after that, after we do all this, can I turn around and sell the property, or do I have to live in it 2 years after the stuff's done, or something like that?
Yeah, I think HUD has some kind of a timeline to it. It sort of escapes me. I'm not aware of
Okay.
what that timeline is. It's not years. I mean, I've had people like literally turn around and refinance out of that loan just to get rid of mortgage insurance, and that's where a real savvy lender, inspector that really sort of learned some tricks of the trade could really bring some value to the overall process.
Okay, and Greg just said too, the investor option and adding income properties answered it for me. This is a great program, and yes, that was his follow up. So, and then he said something about it's typically a year on that, but do your homework if you're watching. The last thing I want to ask you, and feel free to jump in anything else you want to say here, but I'm thinking about target audience. Now, you mentioned the baby boomers. Are there other groups of people that you say this is really a great opportunity for that may otherwise not be able to find a house?
Well, I just look at the San Diego marketplace. We just have an overall scarcity of property out there. So I know realtors, people want to be in certain zip codes because of school districts, and there's literally single digit inventory out there. And so
Wow.
so I don't see, I just see, maybe buyers that might be a little frustrated with the process. They're not finding what they're looking for. I mean, this really should start to chime in because when the inventory is scarce, we can do more with less, and we can create whatever they want. Literally, we can create anything that they want out there. So I really feel like you need this tool in your whole portfolio of offerings as a real estate professional. I mean, just look how you are really sort of distinguishing yourself in the marketplace as a realtor. You're being able to offer some concepts that they probably haven't thought through
Right.
before. And I think this is very, very refreshing. This really makes you look like a real estate professional. So, audience, I think there's a whole wide spray of audiences out there that are capable at sort of whatever the market conditions are that really sort of makes this program viable.
Awesome. Well, any last words here? This has been very, very valuable content for our viewers, and I thank you for it.
Yeah, I think we hit a lot of high levels. I just want to let your audience know I'm doing webinars on a regular basis, so they can connect with me. They're free. I go through the makeover. The second series is homes that have issues. The third one is income ADUs. So that's going to be available. Happy to for them to participate. It's free. I'll be doing this throughout the year. And I'm doing live seminars here in the San Diego marketplace, but this really does give some exposure. And then, like we pointed out, is, people that aren't, have access to me, it's a matter of putting together the right team. And,
Sure.
and I'll talk to them, just like go find these lenders out there. They're dying to work with you. And the 203K lists, I mean, they're available across the market. They may not be on the same page on some of the concepts, but they understand the
Potential.
process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thanks again. Oh,
Yeah.
where would people go to? Is there a website if they wanted to sign up for those webinars?
Yeah, I have one website that's really dedicated to renovation loans. So we can start there. They can fill out a form. I'll be posting that, obviously through my Facebook connections, but my website is SD203K. So SD is in San Diego,
Okay.
SD203data.com. So go visit that website. If you want to get on the mailing lists, I do a lot of email marketing. One last thought is, I don't just do the training. I bring a whole marketing kit along with it. So when realtors get sort of
Very cool.
excited, here's some collateral, here's some email marketing, here's some social marketing posts that you can do that really just going to allow them to get engaged. And then if you're in my market, we're going to be here to support you. Me, my lenders, help you line yourself up with the contractor just to really make sure that those escrows are successful.
Very good, and we do have agents and things happening out there in the San Diego market and
Yeah.
Temecula and all of those cities around about there. So you can check that out if you're check us out at fathomcareers.com if you're in that area. Will, thank you so much. We'll let you go. It's been just a wealth of knowledge here, and I appreciate your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
All
Take
right. All right. Take care. For the rest of you watching, if you haven't headed over to fathomcareers.com and seen what kind of brokerage that we have, make sure you do so. We are a brokerage that works for you, not the other way around. Often people come for the commission because we believe that we have the best commission model in the industry, but they stay for the culture because it is a culture where agents and leadership work together, helping each other to build your business, and that's what it's about. So you can take those dollars that you save in commission, use the tools that we provide, and anything else you want to garner to reinvest back in your business and grow it. That's really what we're about in serving our agents. So fathomcareers.com. Next week, here's another tool that you can put in your toolbox, and it's people that carry tools, and that is builders. So we have Matt Zalecki, one of our very own, who's going to be on with us next week. He's grown up in a builder home. He does building himself, works with as a builder company with him and his dad, and so he's going to talk about the opportunities for you as an agent to offer to really take, whether it's an empty piece of land or just something that you're trying to sell or get a potential house for your clients, and just all the stuff around that. So I encourage you not to miss it. We'll be here the same time next week, 1:30 Central Time. We'll see you then.